One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Every person is guilty of this mistake at one time or another. The mental key, however, lies within this episode. You'll learn how to strike gold in the face of defeat, despair, and failure, resulting in you accelerating your learning and becoming more in your life, ambitious vet. And remember, you're always 3 feet away from gold.
You say, how do you start? It starts with your mental game. And then if you don't have nobody, if you don't have anybody that's like, because I look at everybody, and this is my thing. I look at everybody, I'm like, okay, what advantage did they have and what are they not telling me? And then how can I get their advantage even though I don't have the same resources? So if you're looking at me, I think that's like a veteran trait too, though, because like I'm always paranoid.
Pretty good, though. I haven't heard it said that way. My Marine Corps brain, like, who?
Yeah. Hey, I'm like, okay, he told me that, but something's missing because that don't add up.
Today's show is brought to you by Alpha Coffee. Ambitious Vet, if you're looking for premium coffee with a cause, or if you're a warrior looking for fuel you need to elevate your game in life, I encourage you, as an ambitious vet, to check out Alpha Coffee, a veteran-owned online wholesale and brick-and-mortar lifestyle company based out of Utah. Ambitious Vet, the best thing about it is, for every order you place, they send a cup of awesome coffee downrange to deployed troops. Take advantage of your 10% discount now by visiting www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet now. Again, that's www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast. My name is Chris Hoffman. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran turned social entrepreneur. Here, I dive into the trenches with today's most ambitious, goal-oriented, and growth-minded military veterans on the planet to empower you with the golden grenades needed to break through new levels of satisfaction, fulfillment, and success after stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. Ambitious Vet, if you haven't already, buckle up. It's time to grow and advance in your life.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We're right back inside the trenches. Today we got Justin Brooks on the show. Justin is a Navy veteran and principal at J.H. Brooks & Company, a privately held full-service national real estate investment and development firm. Justin joined the Navy in 2005 and served as an air traffic controller. After the birth of his child in 2008, Justin got out of the Navy and realized he was not yet qualified to be a civilian air traffic controller. Instead, he dropped out of school with a 4.0 GPA and became a realtor to help him become a real estate investor. Within 6 months, Justin was completely broke. During those times, he would go to networking events to make sure he had eaten that day and to take food home to his family. However, Justin knew that the greatest investment was an investment in your own mind. While Justin worked as an investor, his family nearly went broke 3 times over the next few years. But he never gave up hope, Ambitious Vet. Today, with his partners, Justin has created a multi-million-dollar real estate business. Justin, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, man. That was a really good intro.
Hey,
almost had me in tears.
Oh man, it probably takes back you down memory lane and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure,
good
man.
And bad stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it on the head. So I know we got a little bit of kind of some things we want to talk about, but man, that I wasn't expecting that intro. I'm gonna tell you this: I have a heart for any veteran that gets out, because there is a transition period that every veteran goes through. That I've met veterans that go through it. They come out of it really quick, and I say quick, like a year. And then there's veterans that go through it for a really, really long time. And that transition period, it's really hard to define. And what I like most about what you're doing, Chris, is you're taking what a lot of TAPS programs bundle into that 1 year after, which really is nice because, TAPS kind of gives you an idea of where to go, but then you kind of struggle for a year to really find yourself. And then after that year mark, you just are kind of out there free floating and hoping you land on something. So, yeah. Yeah, man, it took me back.
Yeah, man. I mean, you nailed it on the head. I mean, we over here at the Ambitious Vet Network, we think that immediate transitional tools have a shelf life. They expire, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to throw this back over to you, man, because you have a really powerful story. And I know you have tons of weight to your words. I mean, we had coffee in person last Friday.
Yeah.
And Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, that conversation was incredible. We were just getting to know each other as men.
Yep.
Men that are inside the trenches trying to become better men for our family, our kids, our wives, our family, and, don't forget business. So it was a really good conversation. So I'm excited to kind of record this next one with you. So without further ado, Justin, man, tell us what that journey looked like getting out of the Navy in 2010. How did those first few years look like?
Man, so you kind of hit it on the head with some of the stories. So I got out the military in 2010, and I went to Daytona Beach, Florida. I was air traffic controller in the Navy. Got in Embry-Riddle. Like you said, I had a 4.0 GPA. Was doing really well. It was really easy because the disciplines from the military. School is a joke after that. So I went to school and I was like, okay, this is easy, but I had like, it was like a come to Jesus moment. So I went to a seminar that the FAA was holding at Embry-Riddle in one of their halls. And the FAA recruiter said, all right, you all are going to spend the next however many years, for me, it was about 3. You're going to spend the next, for me, 3 years learning, getting your air traffic management degree. After you spend those 3 years getting your air traffic management degree, you're going to then spend another 2 years in waiting. That's 8 years. And then you're going to spend another 5 years getting to 150 grand, which is like one of the top pay bands. So do the math. We're at 8 years plus 5 years. That's 13 years. Plus the 5 I already did in the military, where they said I was not qualified to go into the FAA because I only had sea experience. So I was going to put in 18 years to make 150 grand. At 18 years, it wasn't worth it to me. And so at that moment, I made a decision. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to drop out of school. I'm going to get my real estate license, and I'm going to learn to invest by being a realtor. Well, I didn't realize that that's totally an inaccurate thought. And I go out there. But here's the other thing. Imperfect action is better than a perfect inaction. So a perfect plan is not the end all be all. I didn't have a perfect plan. I thought I had a really good plan, but I went out there. I learned really quickly. I sold 3 houses in the first like 6 weeks, and then I didn't sell anything else because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. No business knowledge, even real estate agency. You are a business within a business, and so I had no business knowledge, no experience. We were down to our last like $500 when we moved to Dallas with it was me, my wife, and my daughter, and I was extremely scared. So I'm gonna give you the rundown. This year, this is why I say the year that you get out is like one of the most interesting times. I'll use that word. That summer, I started going broke. My wife, I'll never forget the day. I drove to a conference in Orlando, and as I was driving back, my wife texted me, "Hey, we got to talk." And when you get that "we got to talk" text message,
yeah, it's like, whoa,
oh shoot, what's going on? And I knew we were in a little bit of trouble, but I didn't know exactly how much. Well, I get home, she's like, "Justin, we have enough money to pay for this, and this. In order to pay rent, you need to go and call and see if you can get a credit card to, be able to make ends meet." So I went and got a credit card. And for me, that was like death because, man, we were like $10,000 away from being debt free. And I know, debt freedom, that's a whole different subject that we can get into another day. But no, to keep it short, man, we got to like that October, and I was like, well, shoot, I'm either gonna go get a job at Home Depot, and this was actually, I went and applied at the Home Depot in Daytona Beach, Florida. And at the same time, I was trying to do a multi-level marketing company, and I called a friend of mine, and I said, "Hey, man, you should join this company." And he said, "Yeah, man, I'm not interested in joining the company, but I know you're good in business, so we should start a business when I get out the military." And I'm like, Okay. He said, but you should go work for the railroad because I'm gonna go apply for the railroad too, and we can work together and then start our business on the side. I'm like, okay. I looked at the railroads because at that point I was pretty broke. I said, I looked at the railroad, man. I can't find a job. And so he sent me the link. It was a job posting that got put up. And I'm gonna fast forward to the end. I applied in 30 minutes while my daughter was taking a bath with my wife. I get out there. I said, hey, I'm done. If they call me, I'm getting the job. I don't know why. I just am. I've applied to enough jobs. I'm getting the job. They called me. I flew to Fort Worth on a credit card, stayed in Fort Worth for 4 days. I interviewed against 50 people and ended up getting a job as one of 14. Now, to give you the macro, over 2,000 people applied, 50 people made it. And of those 50 people, there's some bad dudes. Like you're talking warrant officers, freaking officers, E7s, E8s, E9 air traffic controllers, all of them 20, 15 years experience, 10 years experience. I'm just like, I'm not getting ready to get this job. And then something in me said, don't say that. You're going to get the job. Don't even worry about it. So long story short, man, I got the job. And 2012 was the beginning of what I consider like my new life. I had read a little bit before that, but when you go broke and you face, being really, really broke, you really start to think about how you're gonna resume and get to that next level. And that's when we had that conversation, you and I, about reading. So
yeah. So just quick question, and thank you for sharing that, man, because that's a powerful story, right? Going into a trade job. Was it a trade job or were you doing admin work?
No, I was so air traffic control is a trade, and then rail traffic control is another trade. Rail traffic control is probably about the most niche trade you can get inside of like the logistics space. Once you get one rail traffic control job, it's only 4 major railroads you can work for: UP, BNSF, KCS, and Norfolk Southern. Oh, and CSX. So, and usually if you work for one, you don't usually get on with another one. I work for 2 of them. And so the likelihood is that I will never get another railroad job again because I quit 2 class 1 railroads. So
they know you, they know your name.
Yeah.
So, just to unpackage that real quick, and I'm excited to dive into some other topics that we spoke about, but what do you think stood out? You landed a job, 1 of 14 out of 50 candidates. What do you think had you stand out?
Confidence, man. It's something about your mental game. I'm real big on like your mental game. And I'm not real airy-fairy mental game. I'm like, it takes a different level of confidence to say, I'm going to, like, there was nothing in me. We talked about the be do have. There was nothing in me that said I couldn't get this job. I said, if the long shot of me applying and getting an interview, if I get the interview, I'm going to knock them down. I don't know what made me think that way, but I said, if I get the interview, I'm going to knock them down. I got the call to get the interview. I went to I'll never forget this dude. And it almost gets me emotional thinking about it because he died just last year. But one of my first business mentors, while I was going broke, he was helping me, train me, because he already had 3 businesses, and I never like gave him all the details. So he would probably have given me the shirt off his back if he could, but he let me borrow a suit to take down to Fort Worth so that I could go interview for this job, because I didn't own a suit. And I walked in that room with a $900,000 suit on that this guy let me borrow that was 3 times too big. And I said, I got it. And I'll never forget the day. Wow. I walked in and I got that job. And later on, while I was in class, my friend, who is still my friend to this day, he said, man, I'll never forget it. When I seen you walk in the room, I said, that dude is the sharpest dressed person in the room. And I was like, really? I said, there's a lot of people. And so he said, nah, man, it was just something about you. And so that whole mentality thing, I really believe that has a lot to do with how we get to where we want to go.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, I'm a strong advocate over here, man, that it's not the clothes that make the man, it's the man that makes the clothes.
You are
And
right.
brother, it just sounded like you walked into there like shit on rice,
That's
to say,
right.
hey, who's the guy I got to talk to,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, and I do. I think a lot of ambitious vets, we don't actually know our values, so we're not out there communicating it. So you were
Yeah.
at that point at dire straits on just like, hey, I know what I want. Ain't nothing going to distract me, and I'm gonna make it happen. So that's
That's
huge,
right.
huge. So, man, I want to kind of dive into something that we spoke about. Man, I think it was our first ever conversation. We both realized that we were here in the DFW area. I think it was who connected us? Dave Berlin.
Yeah.
Dave
I
Berlin,
did.
Bunker Lab city leader in Vegas and doing some awesome other investing, scaling businesses operationally and stuff like that. But that first conversation, Justin, man, we dove into follow the prospect, don't dig through the dirt.
Yeah.
And man, there's so much wisdom to that, man. I was like, oh, I sat with that over a cigar on my back patio for a couple of days. And I was like,
Oh, sick.
brother. And I just think a lot of us ambitious vets, we dig through the dirt trying to find gold
Mm-hmm.
post-military throughout life. And we wind up frustrated, resigned based on the lack of results because they're not fulfilling to us.
Yeah.
Right. So why do you think that is? And what do you mean by follow the prospector?
So, man, you catch me in some of my. So here's the thing: I've read 600 or 700 books. And I'm gonna answer the question. I've read 600 or 700 books since I got out the military, and I'll say stuff that's in my head that in the moment is like hitting it on point, and then I'll come back and I'm like, man, that was actually pretty good. Who said that? And then. But here's the deal. So there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold. Sharon Lecter helped write it. I don't think it was Napoleon Hill that wrote it, but 3 Feet from Gold. And in the book 3 Feet from Gold, it talks about how there was a prospector who was looking for gold, who was literally 3 feet from gold, and he quit, sold all his stuff to this other guy, and the other guy came in, dug the last 3 feet, and was rich because he hit a vein of gold that was like one of the biggest finds in gold finding history. Well, the problem is a lot of people are always trying to actually go after and be like the prospector instead of trying to be the person that owns the dirt, if that makes sense. So like I'll use another example. So when you start looking at like the gold rush is a great example. Use that. The people that got rich were the people that sold the picks, not the people that actually went out and dug in the dirt and actually went after it. So man, I don't know. It's one of those things. You go through life and you have to really figure out what it is that you want. One, and if you don't know what you want, I think it always starts with the mental game. I'm gonna recommend the book that I'm gonna recommend the author that I think changed my life. And you can read just about any one of his books, and then I'm gonna recommend like the number one of his books, number one and number two. So Napoleon Hill is like the guy, right? If you never heard of him, Napoleon Hill is the author of Think and Grow Rich. He's the author of the Law of Success in 16 Lessons. He's the author of Outwitting the Devil. My top two favorite books in all of books is Outwitting the Devil and The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. You add on to that How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you have literally the combination to do whatever you want to do in life. And the reason I say that is there are so many lessons in that Law of Success book, it's funny, I have it right here sitting next to me, that I have been studying. This is the book, The Law of Success. Nice. I've been studying this book for years and years. It's about 600 pages or something, but
wow. It's like a textbook.
Yeah, man. But once you go through it once, you let it sit on you for a year, and then you go back through it, and you just figure out what it is that you're missing. And I've used the principles in the Law of Success over and over and over again to continually grow. So I don't know, man. I hope that gives some like clarity to kind of the conversation we had and in the moment. And
yeah. I think for the philosophers, it's going to have our imaginations go crazy, man. It's like a brain orgasm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, Anyways, man, no, I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, I think that for me and where I'm at in business and my life right now is we're raising money to launch the next stage of the Ambitious Vet, which I can't announce here on the podcast, Ambitious Vet, but stay tuned to future episodes on what that looks like. Justin, I think I told you in our conversation, but man, I'm not digging through the dirt and figuring out how to do that. I'm actually going and finding out the experts in our field.
That's right.
I'm in that field, man, and I'm following the trail that they've already blazed through it.
That's right.
Following their educational content, stuff like that, kind of match and model type stuff as
That's
well.
right.
To where I'm not just spinning my wheels, man. I'd much rather accelerate my time frame to where I'm trying to go through other people's wisdom, educational platforms, coaching, consulting, yada, 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 versus, dig through the dirt and maybe wind up there 10, 15 years from now, but exhausted,
Man, you hit the nail on the head. There's so many people that we can model that have already, like you said, laid the path for us. If we are trying to reinvent the wheel, there's not very many things that are new under the sun. So here's what I would highly suggest to anybody out there listening. One, learn as much as you can. And I think we're gonna, talk about that in a minute, but learn as much as you can. Two, once you learn as much as you can, maybe give it a 5 or 7 year period. Charlie Tremendous Jones said, in 5 years, it'll be the sum total of the books you read and the people you meet. So use 5 year period. Okay.
Wow, that's good shit.
Yeah. I love that quote, by the way, because if you had met me 5 years ago, I'm not the same person. If you had met me 5 years before that, I definitely am not the same person. If you had met me 5 years from that, I was in the military. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea. And so if you take 5 year increments and say, I'm going to go all in on learning as much as I can, what it'll do for you is, one, it'll give you and you have to be intentional about the clarity, but it'll give you clarity on who you are, and it'll give you clarity on who you're not. And as soon as you figure out who you're not, don't try to be better with the who you're not. Do like Chris just said, and go find the people that are better where you're weak, and fill those weaknesses with those people, because I promise you will spend a lifetime trying to fulfill every weakness you have. And it's not possible at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one thing that popped up in my head when you just said that is like, are you an advocate to pay to play, or are you the veteran that goes and tries to find where you get everything for nothing?
Oh, no.
I know that was a conversation we had.
Oh, no. So you got to pay to play. And here's the deal, man. That was one of the reasons why I got a job, because I knew I didn't know anything. And so I said, okay, let me take a step back. I know I don't know anything. So let me take a step back, go make some money. And here's the deal. You don't have to make a lot of money. What is it? I say something. Oh man, it just slipped from my head. But anyway, you can go to the library and get as many books. Readers are leaders and books are free. That's what I was thinking of. Readers are leaders and books are free. You can go to the library and get as many books as you want, and you can learn as much stuff as you want. And here's the deal. In personal development, you can go and rent personal development books that you could never get back when we were kids, okay? All these books, Acres of Diamonds and Think and Grow Rich and 3 Feet from Gold, and all these authors, they got ISBN numbers, and their books are in the library bookshelves. And you can go to your local library if you don't have enough money and learn and feed your mind and figure out exactly. But so I'm a big fan of pay to play. And I'm going to say this with the caveat of, when you have the money, you need to figure out who to pay to fast track your learning. If you don't have the money, start with books that are free, and then follow the breadcrumbs of the people so you follow for example, you follow Robert Kiyosaki. Okay, go to one of your local libraries, get a couple of Robert Kiyosaki books, and then read his books, and then go on the internet, see what other assets he has. If you can't afford to go to one of his seminars, okay, we'll figure out how to go to another seminar that's similar, but doesn't cost as, but you have to pay to play. If you don't invest in yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, man, that's good stuff. And I think even over here for me is I realized once I started paying to play and investing into my mind and myself, I was surrounding myself with people that actually had resources
Yeah.
and they have more emotional attachment to you getting actual results in your life. Right.
Yeah.
And it just took time to realize that kind of stuff. So ambitious vet, no matter where you're at in your life, just know that you may be in a place where you can only afford free resources, and that's great. Maximize those relationships. But if you are an ambitious vet that has a little bit of savings saved up, and you're just like, hey, Chris, hey, Justin, I want to go to the next level in this industry, find the leader, find the prospector, and don't waste time digging through the dirt. Follow the prospector. There's always one there when you're ready.
Yep.
So, brother, I mean, you kind of dove into your process of becoming more. But man, I remember myself as well when I was living in Southern San Diego. I would go and rent books around critical thinking, imagination, stuff like that, man, because I was so trapped inside of this regimental military thinking, right?
Yeah.
Brother, I was so institutionalized that I wanted to figure out how to leverage my brain in ways that would create ideas for me. But I want to tee this over back to you, brother, because you've done a really damn good job of starting from 0 to 100 real quick, as Drake would say, nothing to everything, right? And walk us through your process to becoming more, man. And you can apply that to your real estate business or wherever, man.
Okay. It all starts with your mental game. I'm gonna say that until I'm blue in the face, and I'm gonna say it in the most unambiguous way I can, because I hate when people are ambiguous and they say, "Hey, all you need to do is think different." Bullshit. You don't just think your way into success. Okay, yes, there are some like truths to that, but it's not. I'm gonna get rich. Let me close my eyes and let me think. I'm gonna get rich. That's not the way it works. So there's a scripture that, obviously I grew up in like the church. So I base everything based around some biblical principles that I was taught when I was like 10. And there's a scripture that has a lot of truth to it. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so if you are continually renewing your mind, because I grew up in the hood, and I mean like east side of Kansas City hood, Google it. It's not a great place to live. And my mom kept me in church because if I wasn't in church, I would be selling drugs or dead. Like that's like the path. And my mom kept us in church and she put us in good schools. We were the scholarship kids in the schools, but I mean, we got to get into the good schools. And so I didn't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. And so my mom would plant seeds. She saw in me something. I used to go by, and I'll never forget this. And I'm kind of sidetracking, man. But
this is great.
I'll never forget, man. We used to go on our way to church every Sunday. We would drive past a industrial area, and I would say, I want to own that truck. I'm gonna own that truck, and I'm gonna own that truck, and I'm gonna own that truck. And my mom would say, "You can do it. You can do it." And I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking about this, man. Like at 8, 9, 10 years old, I was calling out what I was gonna do when I got older because I love semi trucks. And I said, "I'm gonna start a trucking business." And my mom said, "Okay, you can do it." And she put me into all these entrepreneur camps. And I started building business plans at 10 and 11 years old. I didn't realize that I was vertically integrating businesses at 7, 8, 9 years old. In my bed, I said, "Man, I want to own a restaurant. I love to cook." And I said, I'm gonna own I want to start a restaurant. My favorite food was like fried chicken and macaroni and cheese. So I said, I'm gonna start a fried chicken and macaroni and cheese restaurant. And I'm gonna own the noodles, and I'm gonna own the flour, and I'm gonna own the cow, and I'm gonna own the grass. And what I didn't realize, I was telling somebody a couple of years ago, and they said, "Dude, you were thinking of that at 7?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "That's like vertical integration, like 101. You're like literally stacking business on top of business that feeds into the other business." And I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." And so I really, you say, how do you start? It starts with your mental game. And then if you don't have anybody that's like, because I look at everybody, and this is my thing. I look at everybody, I'm like, okay, what advantage did they have and what are they not telling me? And then how can I get their advantage even though I don't have the same resources? So if you're looking at me, I think that's like a veteran trait too, though, because like I'm always paranoid.
Pretty good, though. I haven't heard it said that way. My Marine Corps brain, like, who?
Yeah. Hey, I'm like, okay, he told me that, but something's missing because that don't add up. And so if you're out there listening and you're like, well, I can't do it because I didn't have a mom like you. That's not a big deal. It's not a problem. I can't do it because I don't read like you. Okay, not a big deal. I can't do it because I don't have the money. That's fine. What you have to start is saying, I can do it because at least one thing in your life is going right. I can do it because I'm alive today. Everything else may suck, but I'm alive today. So let me take one small step. So it starts with the mental game. And then what I did is I started reading, like I said, I started with Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. The second book was Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. The third book was Think and Grow Rich, which I only got halfway through because it's an extremely hard book to read the first time around. And then I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then I read a couple other books. And then I went back to went back to Think and Grow Rich and forced myself to read it through to the end, which was a great decision because it built in me my ability to read hard books. And from there, I just went on a binge reading. Like I said, I would go and take my excess cash flow from my check and I spent $200 or $300 on books. And when I ran out of money, I'd go to the library. I got a library card and I would rent 80 books from the library. And so here's my secret. In books you buy, I highlight. In books I rent, you can't. So I could go through a book that I don't have to highlight twice as quick as I could a highlighted book. And so I would go through a book in 2 or 3 days because I'm not highlighting through them. My other cheat code was I got so good at my job, nobody questioned me. And so I'd bring books in and I would read while I would work. And so you just got to figure out how can I. Robert Kiyosaki said it best, don't say you can, figure out how you can. And so I took that, and then with the other money, I'd pay to play. Hey, let me go to this conference. Let me go to this seminar. Let me go to do this. I paid for this coach. I paid for that coach. Some of them sucked. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of the coaches sucked.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. When you find one, all you gotta do is have one. Pay to play, find one. And the rooms you get in because you paid to play and you got in the very specific rooms. And I know you got some hard-hitting rooms. When you pay to play to get in the right room, they call it compressing timeframes. What would take you normally 5 years, you can get done in 2, 3, 4. You know, what would take you 10 years, you get done in 5 because you compress timeframes and you got with somebody who's the prospector and you ain't trying to dig through all the garbage.
The moral of this story, Ambitious Vet, is find the prospector.
That's right.
Damn, find the prospector. That's all good stuff, brother. I really appreciate it, man. So before we transition into the golden grenade section of the show and thank our sponsor, man, we've been all over the place with your story and just how you gain the knowledge capital that you have to build your multi-million-dollar real estate company. But when, let me ask it another way. Tell us a story. Like put us in that moment when you started to win, when you started to figure it out. Tell us a story after those times where, you know, you're with your kids and your wife and, you know, trying to get out of those dark places of debt and trying to get financial stability. When did you start realizing that you figured it out? How did you learn to win?
I think that it comes by, that's a really good question. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna use an analogy and then I'm gonna give a story because this analogy is something I've been really thinking about. This question is something that I really, really been thinking about. You know how they talk about failing quickly and failing often and all that crap? I'm good with failure. I'm okay with that. What I'm not good with is the narrative that a lot of people place behind failure. And what I mean is most people say fail quickly, fail often, but they don't tell you exactly how to fail. And the problem is when they don't tell you how to fail, you think like failure is the goal. The goal is not to fail. The goal is to get the lesson in every failure. And it's to not be afraid to fail. And so when I start thinking about failure, I think about a plane. Once you get your plane up in the air, to fail at 5,000 feet is to crash. To fail at, say, 30,000 feet doesn't necessarily mean you fail. So let's use the analogy. You're taking off, you go too slow, you crash. You go too fast, you crash. You take off, you get airborne at 5,000 feet. If you're not hitting the success that you're supposed to hit and you fail, you crash. You get to 25 or 30,000 feet and you fail, you may lose 5,000 feet of altitude, but you're not crashing. And so your goal is to get to the 20, 25, 30,000 foot altitude so that when you do lose a little bit of altitude, you're not in the ground and you don't have to rebuild from scratch. And I say that it's a story of Jeff Bezos. They talked about how he spent like $10 million on trying to get a toy thing off the ground back when it was early Amazon days. And he lost $10 million. Now, for me, if I lose $10 million, I'm probably sitting in a corner crying somewhere. I'm just saying. For Jeff Bezos, he's at 30,000 feet. He loses 5,000 feet in altitude. For me, that would have been a crash. Like I would have been at 5,000 feet and I would have went into the ground as fast as I can. But here's the other thing. If you think about it like a video game, once you crash in business, it's like you get another life. You don't actually die. You just get another life and you got to do it all over again. So you just start at the beginning and do you play Mario when you was a kid, right?
Oh yeah.
So, when you go back to level 1, you're like, oh shit, I can do this in a heartbeat. And you start racing to see how fast you can get to the end. And then you start doing a little creative stuff in the middle because you're like, I've been through this. That's where the turtle is going to be. That's where, okay. And I do this and I do this and I do this and I'm done. Same thing.
That's good.
If you make a mistake in life, in business, you don't have to die. You just start from the beginning. And when they say, the millionaires who go broke, they can get it back in 5 years or less, it's because they already understand the game. And so when we start talking about the story of how you figured it out, I don't think you ever truly figure it out. I think what happens is you get better at playing the game. And when you get better at playing the game, you don't necessarily lose the same way. It's a different way to lose. It's a different way to fail. And so what I would say is that if you can get to the point where failure no longer becomes failure, it becomes temporary defeat, and kind of think back, rewind back to what I just talked about, especially with knowing that failure is not really failure, it's in that you have another life. There's plenty of times where I was like, man, if this business fails, that's it. I don't have any more ideas. I'm done. This is my thing. And it's failed. And I'm like, well, I could probably do this and this and this and this and this. And then stuff starts coming to you. So you just have to remember that once you get to a certain point, Robert Kiyosaki talks about it as he went through the eye of the needle. When he went from a small business owner to a big business owner. If you ever go back and really study Robert Kiyosaki's information, he talks about how he went to the woods, he went and did all of this stuff, and then he came back and he launched Rich Dad Poor Dad in the cash flow game, and how he went broke originally and he owed all these people money, but he continued to play the game. And while he was going through the eye of the needle, he understood what it really meant to fail and then to grow another business and not fail in the same way. So I would say that I don't have a true to life story, but I think that analogy would give you some justice, and hopefully you can kind of understand the thought process behind getting to success, because success is nothing more than a monument of failures you stand on top of. So,
No, that's good stuff, brother. I mean, over here with me, I'm thinking about the Mario Kart days where I was going through the 7 different levels, going back and be like, I'm going to beat that toad this time. So, brother, thanks for painting that picture. And also just, the rules of the game, learning the rules of the game.
Right.
And it just has it be less like significant as well. Like, I'm a failure, and fall into a sense of depression, which I've been there after failures and career failures and shit like that. But Man, that's a lot of good wisdom, brother. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Ambitious Vet, we're going to take a quick 10-second break to thank our sponsor. We'll be right back inside the trenches with Justin Brooks. We'll be right back. Big thanks to First Command's Lawrence LeGood, a retired staff sergeant from the Marines turned financial advisor who's dedicated to having your financial goal be his financial goal. Ambitious Vet, if you're looking for your next fulfilling career, or if you're just looking to get squared away financially for your future, look no further than Lawrence and First Command. You can email him at LELagood, that's spelled LELAGUD at firstcommand.com, or feel free to text him or give him a call right now at 619-330-0416. Again, that's 619-330-0416. Let's get you squared away in your life and finances so you can create that next chapter inside your life. Now back to the show. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're right back inside the trenches with Justin Brooks. He's been throwing golden grenade after golden grenade at us around following the prospector versus digging through the dirt and getting lost in the sea of nothingness and mediocrity and stuff like that. He's also done a damn good job as far as how to do a mental shift around failure and have it look like a video game versus like it's a do or die. You're going to die if you fail. Just a really good way to give you a pathway or a mental shift towards accelerating your path from where you are to where you want to go in your life. So I'm excited to see Ambitious Vet, how he just summarized this entire show into his 3 golden grenades. So Justin, man, we're going to tee it back over to you. What are 3 golden grenades that an ambitious vet could implement right now in life and get unstuck in their life, career, business?
So you all probably already know what I'm going to say, but it starts with your mental game. I'm going to repeat it again. It starts with your mental game. So if you're in a mentally dark place, because I think we have all been in some pretty mentally dark places, if you can't do it, reach out, ask for help. If you feel like you can't ask for help, you would be amazed at how just getting around somebody who's more positive makes you feel. Get out of your environment, so it's a mental shift. I'm trying to give you some tools that you can use to get away from the thing that's causing you your most problems. So starting with the mental game, the next is education. Like, I'm a huge fan of reading. Like I said, I've read 600 or 700 books. I stopped counting, and that's no sarcasm. I really don't know how many books I read because it's probably well over that. But the point I'm trying to make is always have a thirst for learning. Always be reading. So I know that's not proper English, but always continually renew your mind. And if you do that, you can get in a lot of rooms. And I mean a lot of rooms with very little money. And you don't have to say anything. What you'll figure out, and I didn't realize I did this until just recently, man. I would go into rooms and I would listen to all the smart people talk, and I wouldn't say anything, and I would ask them questions and I still wouldn't say anything. And then they ask me what I do, and I talk for 5 minutes and they love me. And it's not because of what I said in that 5 minutes, it's because what I did not say in those 55 minutes while they were talking. I let them give all the knowledge. And, people, they like to let other people talk. They make that person who's listening, it makes them like them more. So, always be reading. And when you get the opportunity to get in a room, don't speak. Use the knowledge you have and try to piece in, okay, yeah, I use, actually, Patrick Bet-David, a dude I follow online, he talks about how every time he talks, he inserts a book into something. So if somebody's saying something about marketing, he inserts a book. So you tell me something about marketing. I'll say, oh yeah, you ever heard of GKIC and Dan Kennedy? And then no, I've never heard of that. You should check them out. They're one of the top dogs. And if you know your stuff about who Dan Kennedy really is, now this is a real dude, by the way. Yeah. If you know your stuff about who Dan Kennedy is the godfather of marketing. He's the guy that taught the Tai Lopez's and the Russell Brunsons and the all of them guys that you see on the internet right now. He's the guy behind those guys, the Jay Abrahams, all that stuff. If you ask me something about sales, go talk to Tom Hopkins or Brian Tracy. If you ask me something about personal development, go talk to Napoleon Hill. If you ask me something about, what's another one? I mean, so always be learning.
Yeah.
And then the last one, man, I think I would say the last one is follow the prospector. Don't try to recreate the wheel, man. I learned this from the book Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. He said, if you model who you want to become, you can do whatever you want to do. And so I said, okay, who do I want to be like? And I created I used um, uh, a method that Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, The Law of Success, where I put together both dead and alive mentors / board of advisors that I would meditate and think about before I went to bed and say, hey, Mr. Robert F. Smith, hey, Mr. Buffett, hey, Steve Harvey, hey, E.T. the hip hop preacher, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you think about this? Hey guys, I'm going through blah, 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 blah. Can you help me process through this information? And I would have mental conversations where I would just think about what I think they would say to me in that moment with that advice. I use certain people because that's why I relate to. Steve Harvey has a very impressive record of failing. That dude, if you ever have listened to his story, Steve Harvey has failed harder than a lot of people. And I'm not talking about like little failure. This dude has been married 3 times, been homeless, and now he's worth, between 100 and 300 million dollars. You had 5 kids, been married 3 times, and you're not broke. You are doing pretty good by me. So,
That's so true.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, I love getting into the room. The education will get you in the room, but don't just be in a room trying to explain everything you know, right? One thing that I would add to that too, brother, because that was so brilliantly said, is find a way to kind of express Ambitious Vet what you know, but turn it into a question, right? So find a way to leverage the education that you have and turn it into a question, not a leading conversation, because that can be manipulative. But, for example, if like we're talking about sales and, I've been a sales trainer in the past, I would be like, man, I've been a sales trainer in the past. It's really awesome stuff. What do you think about the sales process and closing or something? Like leverage your experience, stuff like that. It boosts your credibility, but also throws it right back into them so they can talk. So Ambitious Vet, I hope you leverage that stuff and always throw resources out, which has you look like a resourceful person, which builds your value as well. Sometimes it's not about you just saying the right stuff. So brother, where can the Ambitious Vet find out more about what you're doing, Justin? Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, man. So I own a couple of companies, but if you hit me up on justinbrooks.com, you can find all the information there. justinbrooks.com, justinbrooks.com. You can always send me an email, info@justinbrooks.com, if you want to learn more. Man, I love talking to veterans. I love being a part of the community. What do you think? I mean, I got some stuff that I can offer, man, especially to the Ambitious Veterans group. If you're interested,
bring it up, man.
Yeah, man. Well, so here's the deal. With everything that I've learned, I've gotten really good at structuring businesses. That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. And I don't mean just like drawing out a picture and saying, here's the structure of your business. No, I mean what is your mission, vision, values? What is your timeline for execution? So you got to remember, I used to be in logistics. I was in logistics for almost 15 years. And so all I did was make plans every day, all day, 8 hours a day. And I was damn good at making plans, and I still am. And so when people are creating a business, the majority of the time, the people I sit down with, and I've sat down with a lot of people, the majority of the time I sit down with those people and I help them clarify what's in their head and put it on paper. For people that are business owners, who are visionaries, who have an idea in their head, to get that translated into paper, into an actionable thing that they can take to a bank and get money is extremely powerful. And I've done that over and over and over again. So that's something that I'm actively getting with new clients on, man. I mean, just helping offer that service. And I'm always doing discovery calls with people because I like to learn about people. I think that I'm taking that you are who you're around, the 5 people you hang around, and then I'm mixing it with you're the sum total of the books you read and the people you meet. 5 years from now, you'll be the sum total of the books you read and the people you meet. I'm taking those and mixing it together because if you can figure out how to meet more people, then I can do more things. And I'm not looking to sell anybody because I really don't care. If you, like Chris, we sat down. I have no agenda other than wanting to meet people and understand who you are, because here's the deal. When you have a friend, it makes it a whole lot easier to do business if you're friends. And I don't mean like friends, like, seeing each other in your underwear, getting drunk. But I mean, that's military stuff. But, but I mean, no, but seriously though, like when you actually have a value proposition and you can be friends, and it's something about friends that make you money that just makes you like them a whole lot more. So, I mean, I want to be the friend that always adds value, both mentally and substantively. So, economically, I'm not trying to just be the dude who's, hanging with you and you never making you money, because, my goal is to help you and grow you in whatever way I can. And a lot of times the getting people's thoughts on the paper helps them make more money.
Yeah, no, clarity's power to me, man, over here. So it sounds like if they go to justinbrooks.com, they can go ahead and either email you or schedule a call on that website.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you ever want to get to me, info@justinbrooks.com is like, you can always get me. And I'll make sure I send you the link so that you have all the stuff and, kind of go from there.
Perfect. Well, Justin, man, it's been awesome, brother. Tons of wisdom. Ambitious vet. Always remember to follow that prospector. Don't dive into the dirt and get lost. Justin, man, thanks for joining the show, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, thanks to Alpha Coffee. Ambitious Vet, if you're looking for premium coffee for your warrior lifestyle, look no further than Alpha Coffee. Check out all their blends, gear, and the community impact projects that they're currently undertaking by visiting www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet. Again, that's www.alpha.coffee/ambitious vet.